I've been thinking a lot recently. I feel like a bit of a fraud. We talked a couple of weeks ago about be selfish, self-care, prioritization, etc. But I'm not doing it, and it's to my own detriment, and to the point that I'm like, I can't go on camera and start preaching this message because I'm not doing it. I've got a 6-year-old and 3-year-old, and they're very demanding on my time. But I say I'm going to do things, and then I don't. I procrastinate. I overthink things, like I said. I've got a good history of being fit, but I'm just not doing it, Ash.
Hey guys, Justin and Ash back on the Take Me Higher couch. Today we're talking about an interesting one. Just has thrown me a bit of a curveball with late notice. Talk about self-care. He's got a fair bit of content to talk about there, so I will throw to him. But before I do that, I'd really like if you guys could like, share and subscribe. It really pushes our message out and builds the community around Take Me Higher.
You do a much better job at these intros than I do.
Do I?
But I think this like, share and subscribe thing is really important because, you know, like if people aren't doing it, then it's just, you know, me and you in a what do they call it? Echo chamber.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, I mean, we need to get the message out, and we're trying to improve the world that little bit, aren't we?
We are. Absolutely. So look, this is a bit of a curveball for you. I've been thinking a lot recently. I'm an overthinker, as you know. I feel like a bit of a fraud. We talked a couple of weeks ago about be selfish, self-care, prioritization, etc. But I'm not doing it, and it's to my own detriment, and to the point that I'm like, I can't go on camera and start preaching this message because I'm not doing it. Right?
Well, I think that's probably common for a lot of people.
Yeah.
That you do it for a week or two and then you fall into those routines of just getting back and slaving away and doing everything that's expected of you and putting yourself last.
And I definitely am. And I think, you know, I'm a husband, I'm a father of 2 young kids. I've got a 7-year-old, or a 6-year-old and 3-year-old, and they're very demanding on my time for all the right reasons because they're amazing people. But I say I'm going to do things and then I don't. I procrastinate. I overthink things, like I said. So let's take training, for example. And I think this is where I'm falling down at the moment is I'm seeing you training for the swim, right? You're doing amazing things. You're kind of getting in that pool, you're getting in, you're doing weights. And I'm like, wow, that's bloody brilliant. And I've got a good history of being fit, but I'm just not doing it, Ash. I'm writing lists. I've written myself a training program. My wife laughs at me. The amount of training programs I've printed off, I've probably cut down a tree with all these training programs. And I pin them up on my wall and I think everything's going to be perfect. And then I never get to it.
What's the why to it then? Why aren't you doing it?
I don't know. I don't know. I think I'm bad at prioritizing myself. I overthink things, like I say. I wait for every moment to be perfect. Like I want to be in that gym with the right trainers on, at the right time of day. Reality is though, like, I mean, you talked about this the other day, you can bang out a good training session in about 30 minutes. It doesn't have to be an hour's worth of, That's right. And I think the point that I thought while you were talking is the time's probably never perfect. Particularly when you're a professional, you're a husband, a father, a business partner, a member of the community. Everyone's got all these things pulling them in different directions. So there's no perfect time. So you have to make that time. And like you said, like this morning, I only got a half an hour in because I knew that we had to be here and recording, but it's half an hour better than what I would have done if it was nothing. Yeah.
So I walk out and feel like I've done something. I can go, okay, well, might not have been ideal. It's not the best training session that I could have done. And there is some level of disappointment to it, but it's a whole lot better than going, I did nothing. And that little bit starts that bit of momentum.
Yeah, okay.
And momentum, I think, is huge. And momentum sort of results in routine.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm at. I'm nothing special and I'm no better than you or anyone else, but I'm in a really good routine that I know that there's school drop off, then there's in the gym or in the pool, and then there's whether it's recording or whatever other things we've got going on. And then back in the afternoon, there's school pickup, after school sports, and then there's gym or swimming again. It's a very prescribed routine that I don't have to think about because I'm not the brightest bloke getting around. So if there's a routine there, I don't have to remember anything. I just go through the motions day in, day out.
Yeah, okay. Does it ever feel selfish?
Well, we've talked about that, haven't we?
Yeah.
We've done a video on being selfish.
Yeah.
Yes, but I'll pose the question in this regard that if your glass is empty, can you fill anyone else's glass up?
Absolutely not.
So that's my answer. By being selfish, you're actually being selfless.
Yeah.
So that's what I'd put to you.
Okay. And look, I think another thing that I'm really guilty of, and I'm just using training as an example. We're not a physical training organization, but I think, your body and your mind are incredibly well linked. And if you're fit physically, then you're hopefully somewhat fit mentally. I will also often kind of try and get straight in, bite off more than I can chew, right? I remember I must have once in my life done a 200-kilogram deadlift. And now, I'm a 44-year-old man and I look at the bar and I think, let's load some weights onto that. For the next 3 days then, I'm hobbling around the place.
Stinks of ego, doesn't it?
Stinks of ego. Yeah. The man who always says that he's not egotistical, but it's
everyone is as well. And I'm the same in the gym. Once upon a time, I could do a 100-kilo shoulder press. I'm not doing that now. I'll give you the hot tip. But I recognize that that's not what I'm training for now. What are you training for? Is it to train to be a power lifter and a deadlifter? Probably not. The goals are different now, so I think you need to look at them and reassess.
Yeah. So set more realistic expectations of the medium and long term goal.
Yeah, that's right. And I've set quite a lofty goal of swimming the English Channel. So I know that training needs to be very directed and very consistent. If I didn't have that, then I would most likely be in your position where I'm like, I don't have to be in the gym every day. I don't have to swim every day because my goals are very, very different.
Yeah. That's really interesting. We've just done some videos before this on goal setting.
Yeah.
And I think maybe, there's merit in me sitting down and saying, well, okay, where am I now? Like a bit of benchmarking potentially.
Yeah.
And that could be done, I guess, in the corporate world or personal life equally. Where am I now? What do I want to get to? And for me, it isn't the English Channel, right? It's just getting, being able to kind of like be able to take my shirt off.
Yeah. You're fit for life.
Fit for life. Not feel like a, dad bod.
Yeah.
Thing going on.
I think, and we've sort of dwelled on the sort of the physical, but I think for me, the way that I look at it is very much the physical is my mental. Like I've often referred to the gym as my church. Whenever things have gone bad for me or I've had, I guess, deaths or losses of jobs or partners or all that sort of stuff, you'll always find me as a very strict routine in the gym.
Yeah.
Because I need that level of escape from reality a little bit. I know that I'll walk in and my body will feel better and I'll walk out and my mind will feel better.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a coping mechanism as well.
Yeah. And look, I think this turned into a counselling session.
Yeah.
Basically people watching me getting counselled, but I used to be like that. But I think fatherhood and career have kind of knocked that out of me in many regards. Like your world revolves around these two little monsters, and in my case they are quite young and they are quite demanding. As much as I absolutely adore them,
they're kids.
Hard work sometimes. And by the end of the day I've got very little left in the tank for me. So I suppose,
well, and that's, to me, that suggests routine. Get that training done before the end of the day.
Yeah.
Whether it's before they even get up, whatever that looks like. I know you trained jits this morning.
Yeah.
So you've got your session done before the kids are even bouncing around.
Yeah.
Ideal sort of way to fix that. I'd also look at like the spiritual side as well. And I think as I get older, I feel more spiritual.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And that's not a religious feeling. They're very different for me, but I need to look after my sort of inner being as well. And that looks like you could frame it as meditation. I don't really look at it as meditation, but lying down with some binaural beats on a bed of nails or a Shakti mat is what it's called. Yeah. And that's my sort of half an hour to an hour to, if I fall asleep, I might be there for 2 hours.
Wow.
But that's my sort of spiritual escape and sort of allowing me to process everything that's gone on for that day or those days. And I'll try and do that as often as I can.
Mate, that's amazing. That's powerful. And I guess, like if you're doing that instead of sitting around, lying around on the sofa, watching trash TV at the end of the night, there's incremental gains and benefits to be had there.
Yeah, that's right. And people will look at that as a burden. I used to look at that as a burden, but I now look at it as a bit of that's one step ahead of potentially other people. And I'm not using it to compete, but like I feel, and I both within myself and I guess just, organically almost better for doing it.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point, because I feel like you do need an advantage. I've lost my edge. I don't have that. I'm not sharp anymore, and I've become flabby, whether that's physically, don't look too far then, physically or emotionally. And I think building some of those habits back in is going to be really key.
Which, and gets away a little bit from self-care, but that's discipline, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
And once you they're habits, and habits build them and make them a routine, and then it just becomes easy and it becomes life. You do it every day and you're like, oh, actually, you look back 2 weeks or 2 months ago and you're, I feel so much better than what I did then. And, and then analyze why it is. Don't go through the paralysis from analysis.
Absolutely.
But analyze later and go, oh, I'm not paralyzed anymore. I'm doing these things and I feel better.
Yeah. Look, I'll take your advice. I think my fitness journey starts now. That
righto. Push up position.
Maybe not Ash, but yeah, thanks for your advice. And maybe people can tell us, are you going through the same struggles? Is that something that is a common problem for people that listen to the podcast or watch the videos?
Yeah, and even what are your self-care methods?
Yeah,
that'd be quite interesting to share and to offer those up to the rest of the community.
Totally. Justin needs some advice.
Yeah.
All right, brilliant. Thank you very much for humouring me on the couch.